What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and we are back. It feels like it's been a minute, but we are back with a Man United news roundup. Like I said, it's been a minute, hasn't it? I mean, it's been very, very busy. This is what happens when the fixtures start to pile up, when it's Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday. We're playing catch up, we're doing previews, and we're doing them twice a week. It's hard to find time for everything, but I'm glad we had some news to discuss. I'm glad we had a day to breathe. And right now we don't have any midweek fixtures, so you could be seeing more of me this week. But it's nice to have a dedicated news show because we can discuss the latest rumors. Mostly because I can't wait to hear your thoughts on a lot of the breaking news that's popped out just in the last 24 hours alone, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail. So we're going to get stuck in, as always. Can't wait to hear. Check the poll. I've got a poll going on. Danny B in the house. Good morning, Danny. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope your back is doing well back at work. Grinding away, hit that like button. I do appreciate that. Rob is in the house. Afternoon. Good morning, Rob. How is afternoon for you? Where are you at, Rob? Afternoon for you. Danny says, Franco Mastantuono back on. Yeah, I read a little bit of a blurb. Haven't seen it yet from a whole lot of big sources, but I think the blurb that I read was like they are still one of the clubs who could activate his release clause. So it's like it's news, but it's not news at the same time. That's like saying I could go out to eat tonight or I couldn't. Like anybody could. It just so we'll see though. I do like Mastantuono. He is one of those young players on the rise, drawing a lot of attention, turning a lot of heads. Got a bit of a hefty release clause though, so is that something to look? I mean, his release clause is like more than what Liam Delap would cost. So does he move that needle? Is he better? So Rob is from Car. That's right. You are Welsh, Rob. Big up. Dang, 4 p.m. there. Nice, man. Are you? How far is that from like Manchester? Do you get over for any matches at all? Let me know. Danny says 100% Spinio's doing their thing. Danny, don't ever change, man. We love you, dude. Who's this dog I see over here in the avatar? Let me know. So let's get stuck in, you guys. As Danny says, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you are new. Be sure to check out the memberships as well to get involved in some of the content, like questions from a boot, which we'll probably do today, scouting reports, what if episodes. I've got more of those ready, locked in the chamber, ready to go when the next season of that's going to drop. So keep a lookout for that. Probably maybe once the season ends. And then check the merch. You guys have seen me wear a couple of the United vs. Everybody shirts. So check the merch. The store is now live. I think there might be a sale in the next couple days. Like I said, I don't control the discounts, the promos. I just control, or like when, I don't even control when they are. They're only popped up for like 3 or 4 days at a time. I only control whether or not I want to activate them. So I will always have those active if they are available. But big up box already jumping in, getting involved. I like to see it. Got the wrecking crew in the house today, you guys. Boxes, I'd rather we spend big money on a striker. Well, that is the talk of the town, is looking at the attacking department. So why don't we start though with before we dive right into dessert, let's start with the appetizers. You got to eat the salad before you eat the dessert, right? That was the rule. So let's start a little bit with how the Premier League could look next season. So as of right now, it's 2 in, 2 out for sure, as Leicester are now confirmed to be joining Southampton in the championship next season. You feel a little bad for Rude, but at the same time, you have to get points on the board. And Amorim should be taking notes too. I'm not saying I want him sacked. I'm not saying Amorim is at risk of being relegated or whatever, but yeah, at the end of the day, you have to get points on the table. That just has to. And Amorim's, if we start next season the way we're ending this season, it does not look good. But so Rude is now relegated with Leicester. Southampton, obviously, were confirmed not that long ago. Ipswich need to do something in their next match because it looks like they're set to go down to. I think I have one more match to not lose, and mathematically it would be impossible. So, but what this also means so far is we saw Burnley and Leeds are confirmed for promotion next season. So we're going to see some of the yo-yo clubs back again. Sheffield United, Sunderland, Bristol City, and Coventry are currently in the playoff spots. There aren't many points separating sixth place Coventry from 11th, though. So that whole 6 to 11 spot in the championship is actually pretty tight. So teams like Middlesbrough, West Brom, and even Swansea they could make a push for the playoffs in the final 2 matches of the season. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I would like to see Sunderland kind of back in. I think that they've been doing a really good job in the last few seasons after just going on an absolute nosedive. Middlesbrough, it would help us financially if they did not get promoted because Hayden Hackney would be cheaper. But at the same time, you almost root for him because Michael Carrick. But we'll see. They do have a lot of big players over there, Middlesbrough. They've got obviously Hackney's there. Azaz is doing really, really well this season. And then they picked up guys like Garnacho and Gittins from not Gittins. Sorry. Who's the winger who was at Juve? I can't remember. He's English. I can't remember his name now. Somebody will remind me in the chat. But according to Simon Stone, though, on Burnley, United could benefit from Burnley's promotion because apparently we put a promotion clause in the transfer of Hannibal Mejbri, who now, if you remember, plays for the Clarets these days. So it's not a ton. I think it's like 6 figures, but still it helps. And it's one of those little smart clauses that we injected into a lot of the sales of guys like Cambuala, of Donny van de Beek, of Iqbal, of all these players. We've got a lot of these clauses built in. Alvaro as well. So if for some reason we might want Mejbri back, we still have buyback, we have matching rights, but we also like Alvaro, like Greenwood even, we've got a hefty sell-on clause too if they get promoted and somebody picks him up. So pretty smart business in that regard. Let me jump back in here and see what we have to say. Boom, boom, boom. Well, I've missed up a lot here. Box says, Mbuemo, 45 million, in Turkey, 25 million, 70 million, 210s for a similar price to Cunha. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's going to come down to everyone's preferences. And Mbuemo's having a good couple seasons. Cunha's having a good couple seasons. Wolves are not having a great season, but Dana says, he's first dog I owned when I came to this country. He's a champion. All my dogs are down off him. Nice, man. Big up. Yeah, I've had like 5 dogs in my life. I've got 2 now. As much as I love dogs, these 2 in particular have been very, very stressful just with health issues, just genetic health issues. And it's just like, I tell my wife, like, I don't know if I can handle more the stress of more dogs. Plus, it's really hard to travel when you've got dogs. So Danny actually says he agrees with you, Box. He prefer Mbuemo himself. Interesting. Yeah, I think from a personality standpoint, or at least just a not a volatile standpoint, Mbuemo might be a little more cool-headed. But Rob says, dirty Leeds, we better be beating them next season. We do love some points against Leeds. I remember McTominay bagging a brace against them when we win that like 5-1, 5-2 or something a couple years ago. Was that under Ollie? I don't remember off the top of my head now. Good times, right? Box says, Bristol City would be a Premier League debutant. Yeah, that'd be interesting. It's funny, right? Because we do love the pro rel. We do love the integrity of the sport, right? Celebrating that and the ambition involved, the reward for winning, right? But at the same time, it's like, I'd love it if some of these promoted clubs would stick around for a little while. Up down is not good for a lot of them. That does struggle financially. They do get parachute payments, of course, but they do end up getting picked apart more often than not. We saw Madison jump ship when Leicester got relegated, for instance, things like that. So, and we know what's going to happen. Dibling's going to go. I'm sure Delap is going to go. Leif Davis might even go. Like, it's going to happen. So, Box says Leeds promoted. Yeah. Rob says Modric has bought into Swansea. Unbelievable crap place. That's interesting. I was just talking to Justin about this yesterday. We've got like teams from Wales that are in the English Premier League is interesting because the reason I was talking about it is because in the MLS we've got like Canadian teams in the MLS, and I'm not like anti-Welsh or anti-Canadian. It's just interesting, right? How they're like mixed up like that. Box says surely if Marseille sell Greenwood, they could get 50 million. Well, they're probably going to want to hold out for more because they are going to lose money because they're not going to get, or I should say, they're not going to get as much money because we have the sell-on clause. So anything that happens to Greenwood from now on is we're going to make money off it. So I don't have a problem with that. RSV, welcome. How are you doing? Ten Hag really has hindered out future with the 600 million spent on Deadwood. What he did was criminal. Well, while I agree that his talent identification needed a bit of work. Remember, Ten Hag didn't spend that money. Ten Hag doesn't sit there and negotiate prices. Ten Hag doesn't decide that kind of stuff. He doesn't decide wages. He doesn't decide transfer fees. He doesn't decide how any of that works. The same way Amorim doesn't. The same way no manager does, really. People will throw the Anthony thing. It's not like Ten Hag said, "Hey, Antony costs 85 million. I want Antony." No, Ten Hag identified Antony in June when he was quoted at like 30, 35 million. United, the people in charge of transfers at the time, didn't do anything until August, and by then Ajax had upped their price, and so they basically had to tell Ten Hag like, "Hey, Eric, you either don't get Antony, and we can get other players this late that are probably going to cost more because it's the final couple weeks, or you get Antony and you don't get anybody else because we fucked up, and now we've got to spend all your money on him." So I don't blame managers for transfer fees. I don't blame players for transfer fees, but Ten Hag's talent identification did leave a little bit of something to be desired. Ricardo Diaz, big up. Cheers from Sporting. Big up, man. I got a buddy going over to Portugal next year for a wedding. He's hoping to go check out some matches while he's there. So big up, man. Big up. Let us know how you feel about Amorim leaving. If you are a Sporting supporter, I know you're from there, but you might not support Sporting. But big up, guys. Show him some love here. Danny says, I own Staff Bull American Pit Bull Terriers all my life. Dude, my wife would be your best friend then, because she's on the board at an animal shelter in Detroit. She volunteers there. She's constantly there trying to promote to get because a lot of the dogs that go to the shelters around here especially are going to be pit mixes. And she loves them. We've fostered a couple. We had a pregnant one come in a couple years ago who ended up having like 7 puppies. So we had literally 10 dogs in the house at one point. All pit mixes. So yeah, she's in love. She'll probably go head to head with me when both of our dogs die, and she'll probably want to get a pitty, but I don't know if I can handle more dogs, to be honest with you. But big up, man. My wife would love you, dude. Rob says, I saw some stats on X that show Cunha walks more on average in a game than Van Dijk, Romero, etc. Not sure if true. Maybe, but if you look at some of the numbers where Cunha ranks in terms of like percentiles and stuff on FBref, like his off the ball work, his tackles, his interceptions, his dribbles, like he's literally everything you want in an attacker these days. Box says, Ricardo says, I hope so too. We have the same points, only depends on us. Thank you. Well, big up, Ricardo. We always love to see a new face. Yeah, give us some insight on Amorim, things like that. What do you remember from his time working with Sporting? What do you remember from some of the early days when he was working to kind of make some of those changes in the dressing room and things? And what kind of things would you tell United fans right now as we're struggling in his first kind of half season in charge? Let us know what we can expect, what we should be patient for, and if there's any negatives that we should look out for too. But big up, man. Appreciate that. Box says a lot of them players were rated in form and demand fans clamor for them. Yeah, remember Arsenal wanted Licha as well, so it's not like Licha, and not every player is bad. I just think like Malacia obviously was probably not good enough. Antony was very good at Ajax. You never know how a player is going to work out, and unfortunately, he just didn't work out. Things like that. So De Ligt, Ten Hag would argue that in Ten Hag's, I remember Ten Hag stating that De Ligt wasn't necessarily his target; it was a club target, kind of a thing. But it is what it is at this point. So. Box says post Fergie, most players brought in haven't worked out, so we can't put it all in Ten Hag's transfer windows. Yeah, we did that stream a while back with Dylan where we rated post Fergie signings. You guys can go back and watch that if you want to get my thoughts on some of that. Ricardo's out here. I love it. Dean, see you at CL. Hopefully we get to the Champions League, man. I hope so. Danny says my wife does the same stuff. Sean volunteers and she's a dog walker. Yeah, so she's there right now. She's usually there Tuesdays, Thursdays. And like I said, she's on the board, so she's working hard to improve things at the like systemic level. Unfortunately, that shelter is kind of at the mercy of the government, the city of Detroit. So their hands are tied with a lot of things, which is kind of shitty. But she also has her own thing, her own kind of business where she works with people who work with animals, like veterinary techs, people who are in foster, things like that. Because there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of struggling, a lot of emotional struggles that these individuals work with. There's an incredibly high depression rate for veterinarians and things. And my wife has gone to school. She has her business. She works primarily with that demographic now to help them through that kind of stuff because it's rough. It is rough. Rob says, our striker and goalkeeper are Eric's work, not performing. Yeah. Well, we know why Eric Ten Hag wanted Onana. We've discussed that ad nauseum, right? His system relied heavily on a keeper who is good building out from the back with the ball at his feet. That's exactly what Onana does. Unfortunately, Onana, a keeper in that system, is one part of the system. It requires defenders who are comfortable, midfielders who are comfortable as well. It can't just be a keeper who's good on the ball and that's it, because this keeper still has to work with defenders who are not. We had Licha is probably the best defender we have when it comes to his on the ball work, and he's injured. And so you're not going to be building out from the back with guys like Maguire and whatnot very frequently, or Lindelof. So it is what it is. Box says fans were calling Onana a Paul Scholes-esque passer. Well, there are a lot of people who say we bought him because of his passing range. We didn't buy him because of his passing range. We bought him because he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. We've seen him Cruyff turn people. We've seen him do all that kind of stuff because he's comfortable with that. He's just, I need him to actually, make some saves and command his area and stuff. And yeah, maybe pick out a runner with a ball every now and then. So it is what it is. Box says Højlund's fee was crazy. Arnold was it. He's too to blame. Yeah. Højlund's fee, yeah, we famously did not want to spend more than like 60 million on Højlund, and we ended up spending more than we wanted to. So what are you going to do? I don't blame Højlund for that. So RSV says Maz and Delap were both Ten Hag signings because Ten Hag thought he could finally get a hold of that dressing room by bringing in his former players who he worked with previously at Ajax. Maybe, like I said, Ten Hag said that Delap wasn't really his target, and I don't think he was complaining, but I think obviously when you sign former players of a manager, that's going to be the big talking point. That's why when we're linked with guys like Quenda and stuff, it's just so interesting to me, all the fans who would go in on Ten Hag for signing former players, but then they all want to sign all of Amorim's former players too. So it's like, get us Holman, get us Quenda, get us Inacio, get us Gyökeres, and I don't care either way, but it's just interesting sometimes the flip-floppy nature of fans in general. I'm not pointing out anybody here or anything. I'm just saying, like, it's interesting. I think that people are very, like, they have short memories. I think people are very reactionary. They're a bit knee-jerk. And I am like this myself. I held my hands up in that second leg against Lyon when we were down 4-2. I was already in my mind prepping for what youngsters we should start for the rest of the season, because I was like, oh, the season's done. But then, lo and behold, Aries a wizard. But RSV says only Maz and Leach are good signings under Ten Hag. The rest are shit garbage. It's funny. You are funny, man. Box says, I think them days are over now. We look more shrewd. Yeah, I hope not only do we actually scout, like look for the not obvious signings. I hope we can be a little creative, but I also hope that we stick to our guns on prices, and I hope that we're prepared with multiple options and just walk away so we don't spend months trying to negotiate like we did with Maguire only to pay the money. Like, if you can't get the signing, if you can't get it in the price you want, then walk away early, because I don't want us to wait so long to get our business done. Let's get a good amount of our business done before preseason, so Amorim has time to work with these players, because that he didn't have a preseason to begin with. He came in November with a busy fixture schedule, so he barely got any training. You need preseason. Casemiro didn't even start for a little while when he got turned to Ten Hag, because he came in mid-August and didn't have a preseason, and you need a preseason. People got on Ten Hag for not starting Cristiano right away. Cristiano was gone the entire preseason in Ten Hag's first summer. Like, it's not a punishment. It's not like he did anything bad. It's just you need time to get up to the manager's tactics. That's just part of football. And so it is going to be important. RSV says Gyökeres is the only Amorim former player I would prefer. You guys know I've gone on about Gyökeres for a minute. I did a scouting report on him when he was still at Coventry a few years back. The guy is an absolute boss in it, man. Ricardo says about Amorim, they've seen everything: personality and hard work, stubborn in the 3-4-3. It costs at the beginning, but after having players, especially left-footed ones, things will change. Interesting. Good to know. I appreciate the insight, my friend. Box says Fergie often missed out on top targets. We had to go to plan B. A lot of our managers do. Moyes didn't get anybody besides Fellaini on his first transfer window, and that was deadline day. Louis van Gaal missed out on signings because we weren't able to get him done. Guys like Fabregas, Toni Kroos were missed out on. Toni Kroos was David Moyes. Mourinho missed out on signings. Everybody does. It's just because we're so bad in the market. Remember, like, we went to go meet with Achraf Hakimi, and whoever was in charge of the negotiating did not even know the guy's name at the meeting. Like, these are the people that have been in charge of transfers at the club for well over a decade now. Like, there's a reason we're in the shit right now. So, all right, let me jump on here, because obviously We are here for the big news. If you looked at the thumbnail, the big update from Fabrizio Romano, and this was regarding United's reported interest in Wolves attacker Matheus Cunha. So apparently, according to Romano, Manchester United are leading the race to sign Cunha from Wolves as negotiations are now ongoing. Personal terms are right now being discussed. United are aware that there are more clubs that are looking at that £62.5 million release clause. But the feeling right now, according to Romano, is that after the initial contacts, the initial meetings, that things are going well in terms of negotiations. So Romano also had this to say. My understanding is that United will push to get this deal done soon. I don't expect Cunha to be one of the cases we were discussing in July or August. I think United will try to be fast. That to me is uplifting and hopeful. Like, we need to get our stuff done fast. If we're waiting like we've done in the past windows under the old regime, if we're waiting for the transfer window to open to start the process of planning, like, that's again another example of how just incompetent these people were. We should already have first, second, third options for every position we're trying to strengthen. We should already have plans in place to get some of these players like Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, Malacia out the door. We should be actively like putting it out there that we're listening to offers for guys like Casemiro, guys like Onana, maybe even Dalot. We should already be doing that because I want to have players sold. I want to have a couple signings in, like literally by mid-June. I want 2 or 3 players in the door at Carrington, already in the whole, like winning team practice photos. Like, that's what I want already by that point. I can't have the list the same shit. Box says, Fergie tried for Shearer when he was at Southampton and Blackburn. I think Sheffield Wednesday's center forward Hurst was originally ahead of Cantona as a number 1 target. Yeah, Fergie had a lot of options that we did end up getting for one reason or another. Obviously, you guys remember the what if episode. What if we had signed his first choice target in the summer of 2003 instead of Cristiano Ronaldo? So go check out that what if episode. Go check out all of the first season. All 4 episodes are available right now. So I've got more coming, though. I just recorded one yesterday that'll drop. That season 1 premiere will drop soon. Danny says, Juan Jimenez, Cunha should be sealed and signed by June. Yeah, there's a lot of really good center backs out there. I like Koulirakis, Bashali on a free, Valentin Gomez. I really like him a lot. Inacio is a very good one. Danny says Bashali maybe too. Bashali on a free to me, that's just a no-brainer. You guys know I did my summer rebuild. On a budget. I originally went in with like a $200 million budget. I didn't even need like more than $130 million. And I've got some free agents. I've got some first team players. Go check out that video too. Ricardo says, if you notice 2 or 3 passes in the area that created danger in the Wolverhampton area, both Bruno and Mount kick left foot out. There is a need for Sarabia, a Trincao, and Ahmad. Yeah, Mount. And that's the thing, and it's a good reminder, Ricardo, because I know you're not a United fan, but I'm glad you're here. But so many people, again, using the Wolves match as a stick to beat Højlund with. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and defend Højlund and say that he's been good. He's been shit. 3 goals this season is not good for him in the league. But nobody wore their shooting boots against Wolves. Everybody had sitters that they missed. Garnacho had a sitter that he missed. Like you're saying, Mount and Bruno probably had the better chances, honestly. And Højlund obviously missed that one. I mean, it's going to happen. All strikers miss those now and then. Now, Højlund is under more pressure because it's been such a shit season, but let's not pretend that it's only on Højlund. Amorim himself even said, the team's got to do better. Højlund, 3 goals. Xerxes, 3 goals. Garnacho, 5 goals in the league. Above that, Rashford is our 3rd highest goal scorer, and he's been gone since the derby. Ahmad, 2nd highest goal scorer in the league. He's been out since early February. Bruno is our top scorer on 8 goals in the league. It's a team issue right now. Nobody is stepping up in those moments. And so, yes, Højlund is part of that group, but it's not only on Højlund. He's just making the same mistakes that everybody else is. Oh, what we got here? Box says, I wonder what the starting 11 looks like on day 1 next season. Well, we could see. Obviously, once the season ends, we will be doing all our usual videos, planning for the summer, predicting the season, rating the transfer window. We'll do the season awards show like we did last summer. So be sure to pop back up for that. Hopefully, we could be talking about, winning Europa League and stuff and looking at Champions League groups, but we won't find out for a little while. Then it says 100% we need a left-footed 10 and another left-footed wingback to play right wingback if Ahmad is injured. Don't forget, Ahmad can do it to 10 as well. He's been playing there a lot under Amorim before he got injured too. So now Danny's speaking my language. Or get Yashari left footer. Yes, get Yashari, baby. You guys know I am all about Yashari. Boxes. I can see Dorgu as a backup right wing back, and that's the nice thing too about some of these players, like guys like Mbeumo, even Cunha or Dorgu. They're versatile. Ahmad, versatile. He can play a number like wingback or in the 10. Cunha can play in the 10. He can even play striker if he needs to. Things like that. Mbeumo can probably fill in at that right wingback or as the 10, depending on opposition, depending on rotation, all this kind of stuff. Having versatile players is excellent. Rob says, Vavell seems to be busy. We're getting linked to a few prospects. Yeah, we're going to talk about some more of them too. I've not even made it through the Cunha stuff yet. So, what do you guys think about Cunha? I put a poll up. Let me see what you guys are saying. So far we got 8 votes. Will Cunha be the difference maker at United? 88% of you say yes. 12% say no. So I'll leave that open for another minute or so and then keep on because I got more stuff on Cunha. But I want to know your thoughts on Cunha. We've discussed him several times on the channel, obviously in the last month or so when we started getting heavier links. Obviously when his release clause came out, all the links started when he released some video clips about him talking about United. A lot of that rumor started. But you never know. Some of you may have changed your mind. Moving away, moving closer to wanting him. Let me know your thoughts. I like Cunha. I've said it many times. I think he's a good player. I think he ticks a lot of boxes for this system, for the club. He's experienced, right? He's in 25, he'll be 26, not too long. PL proven, Premier League proven for anybody who is, who does value that sort of thing. He plays a position that we need. He's familiar with the system because he plays that at Wolves as well. And goals don't hurt, right? Goal output doesn't hurt. He's got 14 goals, 8 assists last season, so 22 goal involvements last season. He's already on 20 this season, 16 goals and 8 assists this season in all competitions. Like, we need that. Those aren't the kind of numbers you want from like someone as a striker, which is why I don't know if Delap is the answer for the number 9. But as far as a number 10 concerned, like another attacker behind the striker who can pitch in, that's perfect. Obviously, I would take more, but that's better than everyone else. He's literally got like twice as many goals as our top scorer. Again, though, as I've said, my main concern after watching him this season has just been his behavior, his attitude. I think personality is an often overlooked trait for players. It was something that Sir Alex looked at first and foremost with a lot of players. Rio and Owen Hargreaves were talking about this the other day on his podcast on personality, on mentality. We've talked about it many, many times. Can you handle the pressure? Can you be the one to take the responsibility? Is the shirt going to be too heavy for you? Can you step up in those big moments, in these big matches against big opposition? Those are the kind of defining characteristics that can make or break a player's career, especially at a club like Manchester United. I do think Cunha has the personality to handle that. Again, I just worry about some of the volatile behavior we've seen from him this season. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you can't be trusted to not get yourself sent off, to not cause those kind of issues, to get suspended, then it doesn't matter, right? If availability is the best ability, that means more than just injuries and fitness. You have to not lose your head in these moments, and you have to be available for your teammates. Paul Scholes and Roy Keane still feel bad about getting sent off and missing the 99 final, but they did a big part in getting us there, so I'm not going to go too hard on them. But let's see what you guys are saying here. Boxes, I prefer Mbeumo, Cherky, but I'm fine with Cunha. He improves us for sure. Yeah, Cherky would be the dream. Yashari would be the dream. You guys have seen my videos. You know how I feel. Rob wants Cherky or Mbeumo. They should be cheaper. Yeah, Cherky is a no-brainer for how cheap he is, how young he is. Even if he's shit, you're still going to make money in a year or two if he just doesn't fit in. Ricardo says, I understand. I've watched all of United's games since Amorim arrived. I became a fan. The example I gave of Mount and Bruno was in relation to the glaring need for a left foot in the number 10. Yeah, no, I totally hear you. I mean, Ahmad has done that and can do it. It's just, I totally hear you. Being able to do that is excellent quality. So big up. Box says, with regards to current players, a prime Eriksen would be perfect for us. An injury-consistent Mount of Chelsea would be perfect. Yeah. We know Amorim really likes Mount. Obviously, Mount's been injured off and on. Been playing a little more regularly. I like to see him be a little bit more impactful. When he came on against City in the Derby last month, I mean, he was immense, right? It's not been as good since, but nothing really at United has been very good since. Rob says we need a new number 7. The shirt's so heavy on Mount. He keeps breaking down. Honestly, like, people need to earn that shirt, not just by what they did before they joined United. They need to earn it based on what they do at United. We have to stop just giving this to players. The last person who wore that shirt in recent years, besides Ronaldo, but before them, I mean, I think he and Cavani were the only ones who looked like they can handle that. Cavani was excellent in his first season. Very, very good. Ronaldo was excellent in his first season, too. I think that Sancho wanted it. Sancho didn't get it, obviously, but it is what it is. Ricardo says, if you notice, the first signings were 3 lefties, Leon, Heaven, and Dorgu. At Sporting, they played with 6 or 7 lefties out of a possible 11. Interesting. Why is the left foot so important, do you think, Ricardo? Why not the right foot on the right side, left foot on the left side, or vice versa? Is it something? I know that sometimes people would point out, like at Sporting, like depending on the wingbacks, one of them was maybe a little bit more attacking, one of them maybe a little bit more defensive, kind of creating a little bit of a shift here. But you let us know. I don't have ability to watch a whole lot of Portuguese football. I wish I could. I wish I could watch more. I just don't get the channel that it's on, unfortunately. But Danny says, Ricardo, what is the talk in Lisbon on where Gyökeres is going? Trying to get the inside scoop here. I love it. Box says, give Delap number 7, no frills defender. Honestly, if Ahmad comes back and has another great season, and he picks up where he left off and starts doing the business, give him the number 7 next season. Not this time, maybe another season or so, but I think Ahmad can carry that. Ahmad has shown that he can step up when he needs. He's been one of our best players this season. Box says the 11 shirt since Giggs has not been great, to be honest. Januzaj, Martial, Greenwood, Højlund, now Xerxes got it too. Yeah, the 11 shirt that's the one I choose when I play, because Giggsy was one of my favorite players. So I think the 11 just looks cool. So no, big up. Rob says, Victor is off to pastures new, I hope. Well, we'll see. So if you guys watched the Wolves match, eagle-eyed United fans would have seen Cunha deep in conversation with Casemiro on the touchline. No, Casemiro obviously didn't really get a whole lot of minutes. And they also would have seen Cunha and Amorim getting pretty friendly as well, if you guys saw any of these photos going around. A lot of little side conversations going on, a little chatter. So, like I said, he ticks a lot of boxes for me personally. I like Cunha. I'm a little worried about the attitude issues, but there are always going to be managers who think they can handle it, who think that they can take that passion and that mentality and that fire and channel it for more positive, productive things. So some managers do revel the challenge of working with those kind of personalities. Obviously, you guys have mentioned Cantona. Ferguson, I think, is one of the few managers who could have handled that at the time. Some managers struggle with that. Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba did not get along. That was just a constant fight. Ronaldo famously did not get on with Jose a whole lot. So interesting stuff. We'll see. Obviously, we always back them when we sign them and hope they do well. I still back them even if they're struggling and want them to do well. But at the same time, I get to a certain point, kind of like Barada, like I felt with Anthony. You get a couple seasons. If I don't see any sort of development, then it's time to move on. But we'll see. Box says Cunha full on flirting. Yeah, Cunha has not really shied away from making it known that he's ready to leave Wolves. But like I said, I don't think we can afford a release clause. Obviously, the release clause has to get paid all up front. I've said many, many times that just like the Xerxes deal, if we're going to do this, we're going to pay more and we're going to break it down because it's cheaper for us in the long run. If there are other clubs interested, obviously we're going to do that the same way we did with Xerxes. It does make you wonder about a lot of these Osimhen rumors, though, because Osimhen and Cunha would be a huge, huge coup. That's a lot of money outlaid for just 2 players. So we got 11 votes. Still 82% of you say that Cunha will be the difference maker at United. So sounds like you guys are fully behind this. Big up yourselves for getting involved in that poll as well. What I want to know when it comes to this number 10, because I do think, like, we've been linked with Delap, for instance. I think Delap in this system will be better as one of those 10s, similar to Cunha. But what does this mean for someone like Garnacho, for instance? He does occupy that spot. that Cunha would likely play, right, if he's going to join United. Garnacho's been starting pretty much week in, week out. Xerxes gone the rest of the season. It'd be interesting to see if Xerxes is still starting there. Where is Bruno's permanent position going to be? We've seen him played more deep as kind of a quarterback. He's the one midfielder we have who can drop a little deep and pick up the ball, so we have to use that skill set. Mount, obviously, back now. Cobby's been playing in a 10 a little bit. But what happens with guys like Garnacho? Mount is back. Amorim loves him. Bruno, Mainu, Xerxes. Hopefully Cherki. Don't crush my dreams. I'm hoping for Cherki, but could Garnacho be used to raise funds? Now, according to some outlets such as Calcio Mercato, Napoli apparently have not given up on Alejandro Garnacho after they failed to get him in January. They still want to sign him. Antonio Conte is reportedly still a huge fan. They want to bring him to Napoli. Could that be something that happens? Would you sell Garnacho in the summer to raise a lot of those funds? And do you think that that's the best move? Do you think he's just not going to develop individually? Have you not seen enough? Do you think he doesn't fit the system very well? Would he be the one that you would get rid of first? Should I do a poll to get your votes on that? Would you give Garnacho more time? You guys let me know what your thoughts are on that. What's everyone saying here? Oh boy. Ricardo says Gyökeres seems calm the few times they talk about a transfer. The last game he scored 3 more goals. They asked him if he liked London. He said he liked Lisbon, but he's going to leave. I love Gyökeres so much. He's such a good striker. But Gyökeres, again, is another example of like late bloomers. When people go too hard in on someone like Højlund, I'm like, Gyökeres really didn't start scoring bags of goals until he was like 25 or so at Coventry. And so I think that people need to remember that sometimes it's just the right team at the right time. Danny says bench and rotate Garnacho. Yeah, that's probably where I'm at a little bit. The money you're going to get from him is hard to turn down. And at the end of the day, if he wants to leave and he's going to, because I don't know if Garnacho wants to play as a 10, right? I think he would prefer to have a little more space to work with, to play a little bit more wide. Now, he gets to do that at times. Like the 10 isn't limited to just being in the channels. Like you get a little bit of freedom, but I think sometimes like Garnacho maybe just wants to go play in his preferred system and play the way he wants to play. But Danny says, or sell 60 million plus only. Yeah, I don't remember what it was in January. Was it like 50 something, 45, 50 million that they reported offer that we turned down? Yeah, you're going to have to pay up. And that's another thing I want to see us get into is like, let's freaking know our players' worth in the market, and let's play a little more hardball, because I'm tired of getting our pants pulled down in the transfer market, both buying and selling. We haven't, aside from homegrown talent, we've not made a ton of money, and that's also what's killed us. And it's hard. You're never going to be able to sell players when you're paying them so much money a week and nobody else can afford it. This is why we've lost so many players for free. It just is what it is. We've overpaid for them. We overpay them. And we keep re-upping contracts. What was ever going to happen with Jadon Sancho, for instance? You sign him initially, he's on, 275 to 300K a week. If he has a good couple seasons and you want to up his contract, you've got to pay him even more than that. And you'll never sell this kid. We're literally turning Old Trafford into like a coffin for some of these players because they'll never leave. This is where they're going to die. Box would keep Garnacho. Danny's leaning towards keeping him as well. I think I need to see some development from Garnacho. Like I've said, this will be his 3rd season playing in the first team. And I've not seen a ton of improvement in a lot of the decision-making, in his physicality. Like he needs to hit the gym a bit. He's making the Rashford stuff, decision-making. He's trying to take everybody on. He's trying to do too much himself. He's not getting his head up. He's gotten a little better at times, but there are still the moments where I feel like Garnacho just knows what he's going to do when he gets the ball, like when he gets it, and he's never going to change his mind. If he gets the ball in the halfway, he's like, nope, I'm carrying this. I'm going to shoot it. I don't care who else is open. I don't care how many defenders are between me and the goal. This is what I'm doing. And that's the kind of stuff that I need to see him start to move away from. There's nothing wrong with that at times when it's the right thing to do, but when there's a teammate in a better position, you have to have the discernment and the decision-making and the selflessness to do that. And Garnacho needs to pass the ball more. Like I said the other day, he holds onto it too long, he loses it, and then he doesn't bust a gut to get back. And He's got to pass and move. I get that he wants to shoot, but if you pass and then move, you'll get the ball back and you'll be in a better situation to take that shot on rather than try to take on 2 or 3 defenders on your own. That's what I mean. Decision making is not improving for him. Box says, I'd for sure offload Rashi, Anthony, Sanch before him. Yeah. I mean, all 3 of those are probably going to leave anyway, so you're already well ahead of the curve there, Box. Rob says, I want to keep Garnacho. He's going to improve. So I'm not gonna challenge. Like, it's gonna sound like I'm disagreeing. It's not. I'm challenging Rob, you, and I'm challenging all fans. What's the difference between Garnacho and Højlund for fans? What do you think the difference to be? Why are there more fans that are willing to give Garnacho more chances when he's been here a year longer than Højlund, for instance? But everyone's ready to get rid of Højlund very, very quickly. What's the difference? And again, this isn't me coming to the defense. It's honest to God me curious why it seems, because I feel like I've seen that sentiment from a lot of the fan base. They're willing to give Garnacho more time, even though he's not really shown a whole lot of development in some ways. But they're not willing to give Højlund more time after one bad season, after what he did his first season, which was very, very good. Let me know in the chat what you think the difference is between Garnacho and Højlund when it comes to the fan base's patience. Ricardo says, you don't need to watch Portuguese football. Salah, Saka, Bernardo Silva are left-footed, play on the right. It's easier to pull the ball in the middle. It's harder for them to take the ball away. Yeah. So you're saying maybe it's just like the inverted winger thing like we saw with Ten Hag, like we see with Amorim a little bit. He wants to cut inside. I know the Amorim system, they do tend to favor some of those runs from channels from the striker. It's not really a poaching kind of mentality, old school, where you're going to get some chalk on your boots and whip a ball into the box. I get that. So if it's that simple, then that's that simple. I have definitely do that. Lionheart's big up. How are you doing this morning? Says, definitely want to keep Ghana, Rob. Yeah. Big up, Lionheart's. Good to see you again. Just weeding through some of here. Danny says he needs to work on his finishing too. Yeah, that chance he had against Lyon, where he did all the hard work, he sent that Lyon defender into the stands, and then it was just, again, the decision making. Like, all you had to do was pass that into the far bottom corner, and he decided to just lash at it right at the keeper. After he had a really good goal against Newcastle, that placement for that goal against Newcastle was perfect, just like Dallow's was against Lyon. It was perfect. So I need to see that more. And as Rob says, yes, appreciate the support, Rob. Hit that like button, subscribe. I do appreciate that. I do love having these chats because we're not even halfway done yet. So, but big up. Box says, Højlund suffers from the same as Onana, I guess, in terms of one position, center forward and goalkeeper, if you know what I mean. Yeah, maybe. I think I might know what you mean. Lionheart says 12 watching and 5 likes. Don't be a chum. Like and subscribe, please. I'm gonna defer to Lionhearts there. I'm not gonna come at you. You don't have to like the video. You don't have to subscribe. But if you do like what you see, you do like getting involved, please do. It helps the channel. It helps everybody get involved. Ricardo says, in the offensive construction, when the ball reaches Dallo, as he is right-footed, he can only play backwards. If he's left-footed, Ahmad, he receives the ball and can pass or feint inside. Yeah, Dallo frustrates me. I know he frustrates a lot of fans. I've yet to see him put in like a very good cross. I think I can count on one hand in like the 7 years or so, 7-8 years that he's been at this club, good crosses, like pinpoint crosses. His final product is not good enough, Dallo, but he does have it in his locker to beat a man 1v1, which is why it's also so frustrating when he refuses to do it. Is that tactics? Is that confidence? Rob says, I'm not sure if the players don't want to pass to Højlund because they know he's poor. When they do, he's shocked that they passed across and he's not expecting it. It could be a combination of a lot of things. I don't think we played Højlund to the best way early on in Amorim's career because he's not a hold-up striker. Højlund, as we saw the other day against Wolves, where he really should have done better with that opportunity, play the ball into space, let him turn onto it, teach him, like, don't try to trap it, touch it into space, turn your defender, and just book it. Like, Højlund is so much faster than people realize. I think people see him because he's big. He's a big striker, that he's like this strong, like, poacher, this hold-up player like a Giroud or something. He's not. Højlund is a Jamie Vardy. Højlund is a Rashford. Højlund needs space. He's a Timo Werner. Give him the ball into space and watch him cook. Box says, I like Højlund and defend him, but he is in comparison to Garnacho. Content or lacks hunger. I get that a little bit. I mean, it doesn't help that he's the only striker. He really shouldn't be the starting striker. Remember, Højlund was 20 when we bought him, and he was literally like the only striker we had. Um, what other club does that? Literally, like maybe Mbappe, Højlund, and maybe like a young Rooney are the only strikers I've seen that young who were good enough to do that. That's not a slight against Højlund. That's just saying it's how often do 20-year-olds are they the main striker for their clubs? It just doesn't happen. Danny said, Højlund isn't doing the basics right as Garnacho does. Also, Garnacho is confident enough to take on everything himself, as Højlund doesn't do that, if that makes sense. I like that Garnacho's got the confidence and the precociousness to do that, but again, at the same time, it doesn't matter if you do 99.9 of the hard work and the last final decision is poor. It just doesn't. Højlund did everything right to get that chance against Wolves. All he had to do, though, was play that whipped-in ball around the back of defense for Dorgu. There was plenty of space to put that ball in, and he didn't do it. So that was a very almost a carbon copy of a lot of the stuff I see Garnacho do a lot, where he'll do a lot of that, and then at the end it's just like, no, I want this, and to hell with anybody else on the opposite side of the box because I'm taking this shot. Again, I said it in the reaction. It seemed like Højlund just got the ball at that moment, turned to the defender, and said, I'm gonna try to score here. I get the mentality, but at the same time, the decision making, because there was a better option, and we've seen Garnacho do that time and time again. So Ricardo says he's got one last comment about left foot. They have magic, unpredictable in the last third. Yeah, we know the left footers have a special spot in some people's hearts. Diego Maradona, if you watch the class of '92, he's featured in that in some interviews because he's talking about Ryan Giggs. And Diego Maradona said left footers are just they're different species almost. Like they have the class, like they're unpredictable, like you're saying. Diego Maradona loved left footers. Giggsy was a left foot. Bale, excellent left foot. Totally get it. Mad Hatter, big up, jumping on in. We're just having a bit of a chat right now, man. Forget where we even are in my notes. We talked about Cunha. Cunha's done. We're moving on here in a second. I just want to make sure I get everybody's chats here. But big up, Mad Hatter. Good to see you this morning. Rob says the club recruitment was crazy. One proper striker, and for so long no left back while getting rid of left backs. Yeah, it was. That to me was a problem with obviously the recruitment, but also for me the medical staff, because the medical staff told Ten Hag and everybody involved that Shaw and Malacia would be back, and they ended up getting more complications with their recovery, and that's why we got rid of Reguilon in January, because we were told like, no, these two will be back, and then they weren't, and then we were shit out of luck. I remember I was at that Crystal Palace match when Amrabat was playing left back, because that's just where we were at the time. So again, that's another thing that I think Ten Hag gets a lot of shit for, that really not his fault. The manager's not a physio. He's not, like, he has to take the physio's recommendation, and all he can take is their word. Now, I do think that when you look at the injuries of guys like Mount or Shaw, I don't think it takes an algorithm or professional. It took me 5 minutes on Google to figure out, like, Mason Mount's injuries are probably not going to get better anytime soon. You probably can bet on him being injured more than he's going to be fit. So we need to plan for life without him. We needed to plan for life without Shaw. I'm glad we got Dorgu in. I don't think that Dorgu was an Amorim target, because if you remember, we were linked to Dorgu long before Amorim was at the club. We were linked with him last summer. So I think this was Ineos building, and Amorim was obviously consulted on that, and it probably worked out well that Amorim rates Dorgu as well, but got to keep that in mind as well. But big up, guys. Boxes. I want to see Højlund use some cynical tricks when battling defenders. Also trust himself to shoot on sight and use his pace. That was and is his main strength. First time instinctive hits. Yeah, that's what we did last season, and it worked out really well. People forget the guy had like 18 goal involvements last season in his first season at the club, and he was injured when we got him as well. I think that people forget that too quickly. And these are the same people that are like, let's get Liam Delap. He's better than Højlund. Liam Delap, the season right now that everybody is clamoring for, is still not anywhere near as good as Højlund's first season was. And Højlund was younger than Delap when he had that season. So I think people have short memories when it comes to, I'm not saying Højlund is the answer. I'm not saying Højlund is going to be like the greatest striker ever. I'm just saying, like, let's not forget like what Højlund did. We're all basing it on this season. So precociousness, what a word. I don't even know if precociousness is a word. I know precocious is, But that's just the thing that I like about the youth. That's why a big part of why I say play the youth, because they aren't. It's like they're too stupid to have that fear. They're like it's in the best way possible, if that makes sense. They're like animals who've never seen humans. Like they don't know any better to be afraid of a human yet. So you get these youngsters, they don't know any better. Someone who's like Garnacho, who's got a bit of bollocks on him. You need that. I just need his decision making to be better sometimes. That's all. Bach says Michael Owen, a precocious young talent. There it is. All right, let's move on because we were talking about Delap. Let's talk about Delap because Sam C with the United Stand reports that Delap is the favorite striker among some of the senior board members. Now, it's not surprising that a bunch of old English guys, and I'm not trying to be xenophobic, I'm just saying it's not surprising that a bunch of old English dudes reportedly favor a young English striker. It's just color me shocked, right? This is my surprise face. What? We can see that coming a mile away. Jamie Jackson also adds to this that Delap is apparently Amorim's first choice center forward target. He does remind us that he's got a £30 million release clause if Ipswich are relegated. So looks like Delap could be available for $30 million. Reportedly from a couple of these outlets, he's a top choice now. Again, Delap to me is not the difference maker in terms of our goal problems. He's not the solution. I think that he and a Hoyland rotating could be good, but again, Delap's younger. I think I would like someone who is more experienced, someone who you don't have to develop, someone that isn't another kind of couple years from now we'll see what he can really do kind of a player. I'm not saying Delap is bad, but he's had one decent season, and like I said, it's not even as good as Hoyland's decent season was last year. So I don't know where this whole he's the solution mentality is coming from because I just don't see it. Again, he's not bad, but I wouldn't sign him and think all our goal scoring problems are solved. But you guys, let me know what you think about Delap in the chat. Mad Hatter says, I still don't get the Delap hype. Michu from a decade ago had a better one season performance and wasn't this hyped. Yeah. If you see him as a young player that is like a Dibbling or something that you can kind of work with and develop, cool. But at the same time, are we in a situation where we can afford to do that? Unless we literally sell Hoyland and just say Hoyland's not going to be good enough, let's get Delap to take over that rotation role and get someone like Jonathan David or Gyökeres or Osimhen to take over the main responsibility there. Then I get it, but I'm not going to bring him and Hoyland and have that be our only strikers and say, yep, we're good. Like, I just don't see it personally. I like Delap. I don't think he doesn't fill me with that confidence. Danny says, if we want to compete for top six, we need a Gyökeres, Osimhen, or a world-class striker. Yeah, there's not many out there at the moment, world-class rise, that at least that it makes sense to get. You could say, like, yeah, Lewandowski, Kane, literally in their 30s, not going to make that big a deal. It have to be, for me, it's got to be Gyökeres, Osimhen, Jonathan David if you're looking at top strikers. Also, maybe you could add maybe Šeško to that list as well. Me too, yeah. Going down memory lane here with guys like that. But yeah, you guys know I don't like going hard on, I don't like gassing up players after one good season. Yes, it could be a precursor. Yes, it could be an upward trajectory, or it could be a Andrea Bellotti and you never hear from him again. Like, you never know how it's going to go. Vlahovic was supposed to be the solution. I don't hear anybody talking about Vlahovic anymore. Oh, you can also maybe add Lautaro Martinez to that list. Sorry, I always forget about Lautaro Martinez. Rob says, no to Delap. We need to go big or go home, and Jim needs to pay for it. Well, Ineos have a lot of work to do to get back on the fans' good graces because there's been a lot of negative PR, negative moves, negative optics with a lot. Obviously, I think a big priority is, of course, strengthening on the pitch. Getting the new stadium is a big priority, but we have to get a handle on the finances. We just have to. They've made a lot of decisions that have ruffled feathers. Some of them I don't agree with. I understand the need for a lot of the decisions we made. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Obviously, we got that guy from PSG who's coming in to try to expand our global kind of partnership stuff. Hopefully, I mean, PSG have a ton of partnerships. We need to get a piece of that. That's how you're going to solve a lot of these PSR problems. People want to strengthen and sign players. We have to get a handle on the finances because PSR is literally bending us over right now. Dana says, nah, Šeško just the same as Delap. You think so? I think I see a little bit more of something from Šeško than I see from Delap, in terms of maybe just a little bit more. I don't know what the word is. There's like an X factor I see with Šeško personally, but that's just me. Again, this is why we have these discussions. Everybody's going to have a different perspective, different targets. Ricardo says, I don't believe Delap has the characteristics to be an amorim striker. Get 80 million, go to Champions, and take Gyökeres, please. I prefer him to go to United. And then Ricardo says he didn't want Cunha at Chelsea. Interesting. Yeah, you guys will still have him for another year, though. So how do you guys feel about that? The fact that he's leaving, but he's gonna be there for another year to play with you guys. You guys are gonna sit there and develop him only for him to leave again. Let me know. Mad Hatter says, I would love to see a partnership between Xerxes and Vlahovic. Yeah, I think if Vlahovic leaves Juve, be prepared. Well, Thiago Motta's gone now, so that's interesting. But I never was sold on Vlahovic. I never got that hype. He had a decent season at Fiorentina. I haven't really seen enough of him for me to think. I just never got the hype with Vlahovic personally, but that's just me. On forwards, though, we could be set to sign another young striker because apparently we don't have enough young strikers at the club. So this is coming from I don't remember where the source was, but obviously it's being reported by a lot of outlets. Sorry, I forgot to put the source in here, so my bad. But United are likely to make a move for 18-year-old Le Havre forward Enzo Canabiec. Hope I said that right. Negotiations with the club aren't necessary as it sounds like this 18-year-old will be a free agent in the summer. So we can't, obviously, he's too young for us to sign him now and get him in the summer. We're just going to get that done. But it sounds like another 18-year-old striker like a Cheeto, like a Lascelles, like these guys that we've been picking up. He's generating a lot of buzz. It sounds like he's got 8 goals, 1 assist, and 14 appearances for Le Havre's Academy right now in the French Academy League. So sounds like another promising young star. I like that we're looking at a lot of these young players. Obviously, we've got Sekou Kone from the Malian League. We've got guys like Biancheri coming through as well. Lyon coming in the summer. You guys forget James Overy is still kicking around the academy. We signed him from Australia like 2 seasons ago, and he's still now kind of developing more. I love seeing guys like Kamison, Montato, all these guys coming through. Fredrickson, obviously, Amas, excellent performances against Wolves despite the loss. So go back and watch that reaction if you want to hear more about what I had to say about those 2 kids. But yeah, I don't know much about the French academy in terms of the leagues, how league academies work. So I'm not going to pretend like I know. I literally just saw the report, looked up what his numbers have been for Le Havre's academy, and that's the extent. If somebody else, if you guys watch Le Havre's academy, let me know. I only watched United's academy. You guys know we've done a lot of watch-alongs for the U21s and the U18s. I was at the FA Youth Cup game in January when we played Preston, so that was cool. Got to see Cheeto in person. He's an absolute fucking unit. So Ricardo says, despite everything, it ends up being a good deal, as you said. It stays for another year. Good for Quenda, good for Sporting. It's always hard to see kids leave, but we're used to it. I mean, it's always bittersweet, right? I mean, and like you said, Sporting are used to it. I think Sporting do a really good job of recruitment. Obviously, Amorim came in. He worked with a lot of the youngsters. A lot of those youngsters are no longer there. Guys like Nuno Mendes and whatnot. Pedro Porro is, I think, although I did read Pedro Porro might be leaving soon. He brought in guys like Zeno de Bast, another young defender. Amorim seemed to really like these young defenders as well. I think Gyökeres was an excellent piece of business too. So I like Sporting. Like Portuguese clubs tend to do really well when it comes to buying and selling, kind of like you see from a lot of Dutch clubs. Obviously, Benfica have been doing that a lot. Maybe you guys can get you a piece of that, action when it comes to getting some new talent. But like you said, it is bittersweet because you love them to stay, you love them to perform and help your club as well. But it does help financially. So it's always one of those, right? Which one is better? But big up, man. Rob said he's not on EAFC 25. Yep. If he's not on FC 25, I don't know who he is, right? No, big up, Rob. I mean, we've spoken about a lot of players, right? In the last few months alone, we've talked about so many players that we've been linked with, players we love to see United sign, defenders, strikers, midfielders, wingbacks, 10s. We've talked about a lot. When I think about that, all the players we've talked about, all the players that I've scouted, my summer rebuild video, the players we're linked with, when I think about all that, it tells me one very important thing. There are a lot of good players out there, and several of them are gettable, and several of them are not going to be expensive. If we can sit here on YouTube, if I could spend a few minutes on Google and put together entire summer rebuild videos, that I could literally spend 125 million and bring in almost 6 players in one summer, and that doesn't even count the players that we could sell like Rashford and whatnot. If I can do all that, if you guys can do all that, there's what this tells me that there's a lot of players, and there's no excuse for a slow summer. There's no excuse from a quiet summer. There's no excuse to not hit the summer out of the park. This is a very, very important summer for Ineos from an optic standpoint. This is a very, very important summer for United. We've done so shit for so long in the transfer market. We failed to keep up with even teams like Newcastle. Forget about City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. We've not done a good enough job keeping up with guys like Newcastle and Forest. In terms of just rivaling them and maintaining that level with our recruitment and stuff. We've neglected that for so long. This needs to be an important summer. It's going to be an important summer for Amorim, as Ricardo reminded us. Like, it's difficult first, but you have to get the players in. If you're going to push Amorim, if you're going to give him an ultimatum in November, come to United now, mid-season, you don't get a preseason, you don't get a whole lot of money to work with. Come now, or you're not coming to United. You have to back him. He put his faith in you guys. He put his trust in you guys. He wants to know that you're going to do the same. So get it done. Back the manager. Move on the players that aren't in his plans. Bring in players that can help. You don't have to spend a ton of money to do it. I just want to see a little bit of an iota of proactivity in the summer, a little bit of scouting, a little bit of creative like recruitment. It doesn't take much. There's just no excuse to not do it. So, and then in closing, we got a little bit of an update regarding Lindelof's early departure from the Lyon match. You guys remember both he and Mizraoui left around halfway through that match. Personal issues. So Lindelof's partner, I don't know if they're married or not, but his partner, we'll call her his wife, came out and provided an explanation for why he left. So apparently he had to rush to the hospital to be with his son. Poor kid. Apparently his son split his entire head open and required surgery, plastic surgery, his wife said. She said, an hour before the game started, our babysitter called and said they were in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. My youngest son, Francis, had split his entire head open. Apparently, he'd been chasing his big brother, fallen into their glass staircase, and his forehead, she said, was in 2 parts. He had to have plastic surgery to put his forehead back together. He's put under anesthesia. And she said, it is the first time I've experienced something like this happening with one of my children. It was incredibly unpleasant and not something I want to experience again. Whew. Well, I'm glad that he is okay. The kid, that obviously doesn't sound fun. I'm sure everybody was incredibly stressed out and scared. Hopefully everything's good. I mean, he's probably going to have a kick-ass scar now, right? So the ladies love that, right? So he's got that going for him. But glad he's okay. I mean, no one wants to see that happening, but man, poor kid, right? Yikes. It's a good thing he didn't go through the staircase, right? And like fall down, but shit, man. Bach says, unfashionable names that could be gems. Yeah, guys like Yashari, man, get it done. Bashali, even the defense. Matt Hatter says, this season could be a wake-up call for Ineos. If the bottom 3 weren't so trash, United could have been a legit relegation scrap. Yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't have been Ineos' fault. I mean, you can maybe look at like the Ten Hag stuff and things like that and maybe waiting a little too long to make some of those kind of decisions. But again, I do think that Amorim probably could be doing a little better with these players. Obviously, of course, the players could be doing better. Like, there's no reason that we've not won 2 games on the bounce in the league all season. That's a shit show in itself. But Buck says, poor Lindelof Jr. Yeah, man, poor kid. Absolute freaking nightmare for that, man. But sounds like he's doing much better. So yeah, prayers, big up. Oh boy. And this, if I can't handle the stress of dogs, I don't know if I'll be able to handle the stress of kids. You know, mad props to parents out there, because yikes, man. And then at the end of the day, not only are you worrying about their safety and providing for them and everything, but then you're responsible for how they turn out later on in life. You hope they don't turn into little assholes in the future. Ricardo says, it will go well. I believe that United will turn to the South American market without going through Portugal or Spain, without increasing the market value. Yeah, I'd like us to. We've talked about that. We've been linked with a lot of young South American players, from guys like Jimenez, guys like Mastantuono, a lot of these guys, Subiabre recently. I'd like us to get these guys, or even like a Nipan from Norway, like get these guys before they go to Benfica, before they go to the Sporting, before they go to like Ajax or Dortmund or wherever. Get them before they go there. So we're not paying, or Brighton even, get them before they go there and we're paying like 100 million. Like, We could have gotten Julian Alvarez for peanuts, Moises Caicedo for peanuts had we listened to got someone like Ralph Ragnick, and we didn't. We have to do better than that, and that's going to help us in the future. Box says, I've noticed City haven't really utilized the South American market. They signed early. I mean, they got Alvarez. That was about it. Danny says, it's on the players, but Ineos didn't back Amorim in January. They only made him weaker. I mean, I think Heaven and Dorgu were good signings. Again, I think their hands were tied a little bit by PSR. But again, I've also said, like, and this isn't me just saying, like, it's not their fault. They could have done more. If it was clear from December, as early as that Manchester derby, that Rashford wasn't in our plans, Malacia wasn't in our plans, Anthony wasn't in the plans, Ineos should have done more to basically tell these players, tell their agents, like, listen, find a way out because you're not in the plans, and that's just the way it is. They could have been a little bit more proactive about that. We could have gotten one or two of those guys sold permanently in January instead of waiting until the summer to figure out if we're going to get money for him, and if so, how much. Yes, there's an argument like 40 million in January for Rashford compared to if he does well, you could and you get more in the summer. It just depends on money now. Some people will say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? So it's, again, this is the subjectivity of it all. Everyone's going to have their own thoughts on it. I totally get that. Rob says, might have a beer tonight to celebrate that we're marked safe from relegation. Doesn't look good for my hometown club, Cardiff, though. Oh, no, Cardiff are struggling too, huh? Do they still have, I don't know much about Cardiff. Do they still have that same owner that was there when, like, Ollie was there? I don't know off the top of my head. I know a lot of people are not fans of that guy. Box says, I saw Cardiff were winning yesterday. Interesting. Box says, Perone, Kauto, Kake. Interesting. I don't know who you're talking about. Is that Jan Kauto? Is that who that is? Sanjay, big up Sanjay. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Sanjay says, just got back home from work. I expected you to be in like Mallorca or something, man. But big up, dude. Box says, yep, saw Omar Riza was sacked. Interesting. Rob says, Drew and only 2 games left in the championship. Aaron Ramsey now in charge. Wow. That makes me feel old. I remember when United were looking at Aaron Ramsey and he ended up going to Arsenal, but now he's in charge. Man, Tom Cleverley's out here managing Watford and stuff. Carrick's out here with Middlesbrough. Whew, time flies. Getting old sucks. I was just telling Justin yesterday, we were on the phone for a minute yesterday, because he and I played soccer on Thursday with this with our friend Brad. And like, I'm old now, and Justin's not much younger than me, but we're like, recovery is super important at our age after you play. Like, my neck is killing me. I did a lot of headers on last Friday, so I was like, my head's killing me. It's better now, but it just takes a while. I got the foam roller out. I'm getting the heat pad out, man. Ugh. Box says, Wilshere just took over at Norwich. Man, Wilshere. I forgot all about Wilshere. I remember when he was on loan at like Bournemouth or something, right? Was that a loan or was that like a trial? I can't remember. Box says, Man City South American players just thrown out of the City franchise. Interesting. Rob says, anyone see Magnus Aklios of Monaco? We've been linked to him. He has an EFC. We talked about him. Yeah, was that yesterday? Yeah, remember, I've mentioned Aklios a few times in the channel in the past, alongside like Mario Strikens and stuff, a couple of players that are in that position. And we talked about him yesterday when we were linked. So I did a little mini scout report on him, Rob. You can go check that out to learn a little bit more. Mad Hatter says, I remember when Ramsey and Wilshere were the future of Arsenal. It's like a golden generation thing, right? It's like they talk about Belgium or something. Like, it was so hyped, and then nothing really ever happened. A couple of FA Cups, that's about it. Art says, yeah, the Tom Cleverley really made me feel old, as it should. When I'm seeing players that I grew up watching, now they're like retiring and stuff, it's thankfully I'm still as involved. Like, if I go back and try to watch the NFL now, I don't know a single player. The last player that I recognized in the NFL was Tom Brady. I think he retired like a couple years ago. Couldn't literally tell you a single NFL player these days. So it is what it is. Box says, yeah. Gibbs, Oxlade, Chamberlain too. Yikes. Yeah, I remember all those guys. Man, interesting. Well, in any case, let me know if you weren't able to catch it live, what your thoughts are on Cunha, Delap. Would you sell Garnacho if it meant more money? Do you think Garnacho still has some development left in him? Have you seen enough to say keep him, or are you ready to go? Let me know. hit that like button for me, please. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check the memberships as well. Learn how you get involved in the content. Check the store, the UVE store. There is a pinned comment. You can get shirts like this one that I'm rocking today, United versus Everybody. I'm hoping for my newest design to be approved by the site so it can get posted on there. I think you guys might like that one as well. So keep a lookout for that one. And then I do think that there is a sale right now. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't have control over the promos. I only have control on if I want them to be activated or not. They're on a set amount, a set window. I try to get them all activated for you so you guys can always get hooked up. Rob says, I did watch yesterday's show after, but the wife was yapping a lot in the background. Don't let her hear you say that. I'm sure she's a very lovely woman. So in any case, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check back with me later on this week. Again, it's going to be a quiet week, no midweek matches, but we do have a match Sunday, so I will try my best to keep you guys abreast of the latest and greatest news. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved, too. Really good chat today, and I'll love the new faces. Ricardo, big up for stopping in, man. So enjoy your day, and I will see you guys later.